Well, it's great to be here. Over the years, I've had the opportunity to hear from several industry luminaries at One Summits, as well as its previous incarnations. And so I feel incredibly honored to be over here, and also excited to speak about a topic that's close to my heart. I'm Ankur, and these days I lead Google Cloud's telecom industry, as well as engineering for Google Distributed Cloud. And joining me on the stage a little later will be my colleague Kandan, who is also the TSC chair of Nephio. So at Google, we have 6 products with over 2 billion users and over 15 products with over 500 million users. And to serve all of these products and their users and customers globally, these are products including Search and YouTube and Google Cloud, we operate one of the largest networks on the planet. Back when I joined Google in 2005, our total cross-sectional bandwidth to the internet was of the order of like 10 Gbps or so, or even less than that. And I've since then had the opportunity to work on many programs and projects that have contributed to the rapid but also efficient scaling out of our networking infrastructure. And in my opinion, perhaps the most defining guiding principle for us, and which has enabled this rapid and efficient scale out, has been our relentless focus on autonomy. It's a vision made possible by some common patterns and practices, many of which we have talked about, many of which some of the earlier speakers had talked about. These are things such as software-defined principles of separation of data plane, control plane, as well as management plane, intent-driven automation. I see a lot of interest around Nephio today, using microservices-based architecture, having reusable components, collecting and analyzing telemetry and logs, and using AI for closed-loop automation, as well as actionable insights, and using SRE best practices to operate networks. Over the past few years, through Google Cloud, we have also externalized many of these capabilities to other network operators. Today, there are a few dozen network operators globally that are using Google Cloud to digitally transform different aspects of their business. And how are they doing it? They're using a combination of our 40 global cloud regions, as well as our on-prem offering, Google Distributed Cloud, to run their workloads wherever they need from a performance, cost, latency, and regulatory compliance needs. Now, whether that's network functions, that's network analytics, or it could be AI workloads. They're taking telecom network automation, which is our managed Nephio offering, and using that for simplifying network management and orchestration. They're using Vertex AI to train and deploy ML models and applications, BigQuery to learn large-scale data analytics, as well as through our model garden, choosing the model that of their choice from the 130 plus models that exist over there, including Gemini. Just a couple of weeks back, Verizon talked about how they're using Google Cloud's generative AI capabilities for improving employee productivity and customer service. Orange talked about how they're using generative AI and Google Distributed Cloud to improve customer experience, operational efficiency, as well as field operations. Now, whether it's Google's own network or whether it's a networks of our partners and customers, we have been, for several years, seeing AI being used to solve different business problems. And now with generative AI, the momentum has only increased, and what were demos, experiments last year are graduating into production deployments this year. Broadly, I'm seeing 4 pillars emerge thematically. It's being used to improve customer experience through agents that offer personalized interactions, as well as provide assistance to call center operators with capabilities such as ML-based summaries, call sentiment analysis, translation, transcriptions, and so on. It is being used to improve employee productivity, simplifying access to internal corporate knowledge, but also assisting in coding, assisting in creating marketing content, as well as in security analysis and incident response. And it is assisting field operations teams to in their troubleshooting when they are in the field. But if I were to double-click on network operations, just because it's a topic much closer to many of us in the audience, I have seen it being used pretty much in all aspects of planning, deployment, as well as operations. It's being used to do, we've been using AutoML actually on our own backbone network for much better network forecasts. Reinforced learning has been used to optimize routing over on our network backbone, or in by some other network operators. They're using that to optimize parameters, the radio access network parameters, for improving energy efficiency. It is being used for proactive anomaly detection, so that you can detect, you can prevent an outage, or if an outage does happen, or when outages do happen, retrieval augmented generative search over root cause analysis documents are helping NetOps teams to much more quickly diagnose the problem and decrease the mean time to recovery. It's actually being used in a business context also for running networks. It's being used by the procurement team to quickly analyze invoices. It is being used by our legal teams to go through contracts and make sure that they're well tied together. The list really just keeps going on. And I actually genuinely feel that we are still only scratching the surface of what's possible over here. And I'm actually really excited at what we collectively, as an industry, can do over here, especially as the power of these models continues to increase. Now, shifting gears a little bit, we strongly believe in the power of open technologies to drive innovation, to create flexibility for our customers, as well as to benefit the entire ecosystem. And so whether it's through Kubernetes, whether it's through open ML frameworks like TensorFlow or JAX, open models such as Gemma, these are all great examples of our investments into open technologies. And it is with these ethos that we partnered with LFN, with many industry partners, including many of you in the audience, and to launch Nephio project a couple of years back with the aim of advancing cloud-native network automation. Actually, just out of curiosity, how many of you are working on Nephio in some capacity in your current role? Well, I must say that I'm just incredibly excited about how the community has embraced Nephio, and how the community has really grown and delivered over the last couple of years. The recent release 2 is a great testimony of the work that the community over here has done. There are actually a bunch of, for those of you who will be through the rest of the conference, there are actually a lot of talks throughout the next couple of days focused on Nephio, and I definitely encourage you all to join those. But really to just bring together the various themes that I alluded to during the talk, whether that was network automation, AI applied to networks, as well as open source. Let me turn it over to Kandan, who will showcase a couple of demos. And please pray for him that his demos work. All right.
Thank you, Ankur. So Nephio community has progressed and delivered 2 releases already, and currently working on release number 3. Release 1, the community focused on delivering the primary building blocks. They took the Google seed code and further enhanced the seed code to deliver the building blocks. And also it provided the 5G core automation. And on the release 2, the community focused on multi-cloud, multi-network function automation. And it also provided a foundation for SDK and the RAN automation as well. In the release 3, community is focused on a lot of capabilities of AI, and we're going to show you a demo on the AI as well. And not all going to be delivered in the release 3, but over a period of time, like the community is going to incorporate these features and functionalities into the Nephio. So today I'm going to talk about telecom network automation. Like any other open source, and the user has a choice to take the open source directly from the community and then put that into their network in automating their entire network. So that's the case with the Nephio as well. Or you can actually take a distribution from a vendor, which is provided with the support. And telecom network automation is a supported version of Nephio from a Google Cloud. This is a SaaS model that Google Cloud offer, which follows all the principles of the Nephio along with the foundation, which I will show you a demo in a minute. Then I'm going to show you the power of generative AI that can be applied to the network, and that can be combined with the intent-based automation that the Nephio delivers, because that is the foundation for any generative AI to put that in use in a large scale. And we're going to show that in a minute. So before we deep dive into it, and I want to quickly talk about the Nephio architecture. This is extremely oversimplified for an easy understanding, and the telecom network automation is based on Nephio, so it follows the same principle. So the top layer is the UI, and it is also the GitOps pipeline, because Nephio uses the GitOps pipelines for the entire implementation of the configurations. And the middle part is the Nephio brain. You can think of this as a Nephio management plane. That is what we call as the orchestration cluster. And then you have workloads that runs in the edge, that runs in the cloud. This could be a RAN workload. This could be a transport workload. It could be an enterprise IT workload. Or it could be your 5G core mobility workloads. So it could be in the cloud, or it could be in the edge. And primarily, Nephio gives you this automation of the entire stack, that including the cloud, all the network configuration that you would need to run these network functions, and also the workload themselves. And we quickly going to show you a demo of how this works. Can we switch into the monitor, please? So this is the telecom network automation UI, and in this UI, you can actually see here the screens, like there's only a few items that the user has to do. The intention of the Nephio, intention of telecom network automation is to provide very easy way for the user to implement the entire stack. It could be a one single location, or it could be a multiple location. So in this case, like we talked about the top layer is a UI, so that's a UI that you are seeing in. The second part is the orchestration cluster. So I talked about the Nephio management plane, and that allows you to run the entire automation. And in this case, like I already deployed a management plane, and you can see this, currently it has been deployed in the US Central. So in this case, like the management plane can be deployed in any of the GCP cloud region. So here I deployed in the US Central, and you can see that it is currently active. This is the first step of deploying the Nephio control plane. Once the Nephio control plane is deployed, the second step would be selecting a blueprint. So what is the blueprint? Blueprint is the combination of configuration files and configuration of packages. In this case, like these are kept packages that are supported by the Nephio. It allows you to compile the entire configuration that allows you to deploy the stack. In this case, if you could see here, there is an import library. So the telecom network automation comes with predefined, pre-certified templates, and you can actually easily copy them and use them for your own deployment. And these are modifiable. If a user doesn't want to modify it, just want to use it as it is, they can do that. Or they want to modify it as an advanced user, they can also do that. So in this case, like I'm just selecting a blueprint. So you can see here, I'm selecting a GKE blueprint. This allows us to deploy the GKE for the network functions. So when I do an add blueprint, it picks up the name. If a user want to actually change the name, they can actually change the name here. So these blueprints are very, very powerful, meaning that this can wipe out a network, this can deploy a network. So there need to be a proper permissions and authority to do this particular blueprint operation. So we can divide this blueprint operation into a couple of ways. One is the blueprint designer, who would actually take the blueprint and design the blueprint with all the configuration in. The architect, network architects, let's say, and they can come and review these blueprints before this is being deployed into the network, because this is super important that the right policies of security, right policies of the infrastructure all been adopted. The third is the deployment engineer, who would come and actually deploy this entire blueprint. Then we have the operation team with the different tiers, like operation tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. They can come and manage the entire framework. So this particular platform allows you to do that. So in this case, like you can see that I created a blueprint. It stays as the draft. It does not go into the immediate approval. So here I can change any configurations that I need, or I can pick the default, as I stated, like this is something can be changed here or during the deployment. So if the blueprint designer want to apply a configuration across like a multiple location, then he could change it here. And the same blueprint can be used to deploy it in a multiple location. And if he really want a specific inputs for a particular location, then he can change this in a later level as well. So once he make all the changes, he have to go and propose this blueprint. Then this blueprint is available for the network architect to review and approve it. Here I'm logged in as a super user on the top. So that is why I'm able to perform all the action by myself. But if it is in the real world, it would be a multiple personas doing this particular operation. Here I'm approving the blueprint. Once I approve the blueprint, it basically goes into the approved set of blueprints. You can see that I have like a bunch of approved blueprints here. And here, once the deployment engineer can come in, and he can create, or he or she can create a particular deployment. For example, I say one demo live, and I create a deployment. So basically, the deployment get created. And this deployment is not applied yet. It basically goes into the draft again. And this is to make sure that there is enough checks before a particular deployment is being done. And then in this case, like for example, this is the one that I have created. And then I also have like one which is already created here. And I can simply go and deploy it. So now what happens is that all the automation signals, all the automation steps that has been put in place, that get executed one by one, and the system reflects the status of that particular automation scripts, and the complete stack is being deployed. So for example, I have one that is already deployed here. So I will quickly show you a status of this particular blueprint. So in this case, you can see here, this is a blueprint that is deployed like 5 days before, and it shows active. That means that that particular intent for which the blueprint is created, that has already been applied, and it is working fantastic. And you can see the resources that are being deployed for this particular blueprint. It shows you all the resources. Then the important aspect of it, this is one of the key pain point of like telecoms and enterprises, that they always wanted to know who applied it, what applied it, and you can see that the timestamp of that particular blueprint and what has been applied. Another important aspect is that the lifecycle management of the entire stack is incorporated with this blueprint. So you do not need additional blueprints to go and deploy that. Every time you go make a blueprint change on the same blueprint, and basically, like the blueprint goes through the same approval cycle that I talked about, and then, like it applies into the system. The another beauty of Nephio is that this is not a fire and forget. This is basically once it is deployed, it continue to monitor that particular state, continue to ensure that the intent currently being deployed is perfectly working. So that's the beauty of it. And so to summarize it, the simplicity is what mainly the telecoms and enterprise wanted. And that's what exactly the Nephio delivers. That's what the telecom network automation delivers. And the user who really need to modify many things and modify like want to bring in their own blueprints and want to deploy like a multi-domain automation, this is the tool that allows you to make it very, very simple. And that allows you to entire management of the network. So that could be a RAN, that could be a core, that could be like many parts of the stack that you can actually use it from this screen and manage the entire stack. So with that, let's roll the next video. And in that video, you're going to see that all the things that I have showed you here in the manual steps, AI is performing there. So the network assistant is able to actually provide all the configuration that you need to deploy it, and it deploys it for you. And if there is a problem, you can communicate to the network assistant with respect to the natural language questions, and basically it can actually provide you the results for that. And let's roll the video, please.
Wasn't that super cool? Well, to summarize, look, to keep meeting the needs of both consumers as well as our enterprise services, we as an industry, we'll need to really keep on scaling networks efficiently. And for that, we need to keep our relentless focus on autonomy. AI has been getting used for that for years now, and its use is only going to keep on increasing, especially with the capabilities of generative AI. Nephio provides a great foundation for automating networks, and I look forward to how this community comes together and brings more AI capabilities into Nephio. I just wanted to thank you all again for listening to us, as well as contributing to Nephio, and thank you, Elephant, for organizing this.
All right, thank you.